Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Morgan Monroe State Forest. My name is Tim. Call sign November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, and it's another beautiful Sunday morning. We are out here to do a POTA activation today. But of course, I got to babble for a little bit. And, I think I found a pretty good topic this morning because it's definitely popping up in the social media and stuff like that. And so, what I wanted to get everybody to kind of think about here as I go through introductions and all that other fun stuff is we've got the 5-2 challenge. Um, Mike into MAK, it really pushed that this year, and getting out and making contacts on 5-2, and people are documenting that through social media, whether it's on YouTube videos or Instagram, X, stuff like that. But also, um, I'm I'm not seeing a whole lot of success. I'm not seeing a lot of people talk. So, got a couple polls that I'm going to put out there. Actually, I'll just go ahead and throw one in here right now. Um, is are repeaters active in your community? Um, I think that we've had a fundamental shift in two things: technology and the fact that people aren't driving to the office like they used to. So we'll get into that here in just a minute. But I did want to give a high five and good morning to Jason Lockwood, first in the chat this morning. Good morning, Cooley, my neighbor from the other side of the ridge here. Uh, Robert checking in this morning. Hello from KC2 Tango Echo Lima in New Jersey. Good morning, Robert. Robert from Alabama, Whiskey 9 Echo Golf Lima, checking in this morning. He says he's got his new stickers ready to go, and Dayton is in 3 weeks. So let me know in the chat if you guys are going to be at Dayton. There will be several events, but most notably, I think the Toads does their meetup at the flagpoles on one of the days. So if you guys aren't in one of those Discord servers, to find out about that, if you're going to be at Dayton, this is something new. Get into the Toads Discord and look for that. So it's always a fun meetup, and sometimes it's great to put some faces to names and call signs. So make sure you're there for that. Elodie checking in this morning. Good morning, Elodie. Jimmy checking in this morning. Good morning, Jimmy. Brandon Wynn checking in this morning. Good morning, Brandon. And by the way, guys, if you haven't done so or seen it already, and I'm going to try to get Brandon. So, Brandon, I'm putting you on the spot, buddy. I'm going to get you on the kids' table on Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, to talk about the upcoming POTA camp out that they're doing in Central Kentucky. So, if you are in Central Kentucky, or actually Kentucky or any of the surrounding states, and you want to get together for a camp out in a centrally located place there in Kentucky, Brandon is going to be, and his group are going to be hosting one of those later this summer, maybe I think September timeframe. I'm planning on being there, but good drive. But they're actually not the only ones doing that. There's several groups that have been doing this, and I think that's a great idea to have those type campouts. So Brandon, we're gonna get you on there. Whiskey 9 Fox Hotel Charlie, Steve checking in this morning. Good morning, Steve. That's just Joe checking in this morning. Good morning, all. Kilo Quebec 4 Yankee November Georgian. I'm sorry, Joe in Georgia. Sorry. Elodie saying if APRS is still having a revival, then perhaps coders in the group would be interested in a little project I just started working on. It's an implementation of APRS engine in Rust. Elodie, that is awesome. There's and I'm not sure what platform. I cannot think of his name. He sent me the link to the software, doing something similar where he is coding it in a platform that's a little more modern and everything like that. So I was going to install it and give it a try. So Jimmy checking in this morning. Good morning, Jimmy. Julie checking in this morning. We've oh yeah, Julie. Julie, I need my microphone bedazzled. So we'll have to, next time we get together, we're gonna have to get a bedazzling kit to do that. Joe sharing here on the in the chat, just got to go to the USS Alabama and work the POTA station from the radio room. How cool is that? That is awesome. And I lived on a U.S. Navy warship for many years. Never once got to walk in the radio room to see that, and partly because it was a classified space. I had a security clearance, but I didn't have that need to know, and that's how the U.S. military and how the U.S. government handles classification. In that sense, that just because I had the security clearance, I didn't have a need to know. But to be fair, I had places that the radio guys couldn't come into, so there we go. Vaughn checking in this morning. Hopefully Vaughn's got some pants on. Word on the street, on the internet, and I saw it written in the stall at the Buc-ee's, was Vaughn loves to get up on Sunday mornings and watch the live stream from the park in his under britches. And I don't know. Thank God there's no pictures. Julie, don't put any pictures online either, by the way. Let's see who here. I think Dog Boy 01 saying, again, good morning. Yay, Dayton. Yeah, Dayton is going to be coming up soon. Ooh. Oh, it's not showing in there. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, I'm actually streaming in both horizontal and portrait today. And it looks like Dog Boy 1's on his mobile phone. So there we go. But if the format looks a little different, go back to the YouTube page. And there should be both streams there for the whichever format you want. November 5 Tango checking in this morning. Good morning. Kilo Juliet 5 Romeo Tango checking in. Good morning. So one of the things that has popped up, a lot of talk about UHF VHF, a lot of people pushing that 5-2 challenge. I saw this morning well, actually I guess it was yesterday afternoon, a Canadian ham out on the West Coast was like, hey, it's great that you're doing the 5-2 challenge, but can you make your contact and go settle on another frequency and move up and just use 5-2 as the linking point. And he's got a point, but I think also in today, and this kind of goes back, I think the need, the reliance on UHF and VHF communications has changed in that. So the technology, but then also, well, not the technology. The technology we use as amateur radio operators hasn't changed, but other technology that people use to communicate has changed. And I think We've seen that, but also I think that COVID didn't do our hobbies any favors in that respect. We used to um, drive to work every day. A lot of us, I didn't get, a lot of people got furloughed or laid off, but in my case, I basically was told to take my laptop, 2 monitors, a docking station, and go work from home. 6 years later, I'm still working from home. So, and I drive back into the office every maybe once or twice a week, unless there's something that's physically broken that requires my attention or some meeting. I mean, we schedule everything on a Tuesday. It's our primary day in the office. Basically, the whole department comes in, and then so there's like 400 of us there. Actually, the least productive day of the week, but we're there, twiddling our thumbs, doing the cooler chat stuff. And then on Wednesdays, occasionally, we've got the meetings that we need to have that we can't do on Tuesday because everybody's in the office, and it's more a social event than it is a working thing. So those 2 days now have kind of become the day. I turn on the radio, and I'm 30-40 miles outside of Indianapolis driving up there. So when I get started, I'm at least 20-25 minutes into my drive before I start really in a point where I can easily communicate with people. We come in for the food. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a social time for us, more than anything else. So it's there. The number of people, there's like 3-4 people on a repeater, a wide area network, a wide area repeater, that pretty much has most of central Indiana covered. And we had 2 of those here. In the heyday, when I first got licensed, there would be 20 plus people on each one of those repeaters, every morning, in and out, people checking in. Some people had a very short commute. I had a much longer commute into the office, and you would have that opportunity to talk. Same thing driving home, another 45 minutes to an hour driving home, and I would have an opportunity to speak and talk with people because everybody was in that same boat. So that's the change, right? Was that the need for us to use that radio, that use case, the circumstance of being in the car for 30 minutes to an hour commuting each way to work, was there. That's how I communicated with people. The change in technology is that the need to use a UHF VHF radio to communicate has dwindled. If I want to go talk to Bob about something, I'll call Bob. I unfortunately sometimes hold a lot of meetings right here from the truck, as I'm driving down the interstate. Heck, more Expo, driving there. I was taking meetings on the road while I was driving. It's just as easy with all the other forms of modalities of communication now. So that was the thing was, are you guys seeing in your communities the repeaters just drop? Now, there's always been a contingent of people who didn't necessarily want to be on the repeater for whatever reason. Personality sometimes are come into play and everything. So they would go off to a simplex frequency, which is fine, and they would have their, like I say, private conversations, but semi-private in the sense that you had to know that they were there. Unlike being on the repeater and blasting out. And So Vaughn says we organized a drive time net. We average 7 to 10 operators every day, weekdays. Vaughn, do you do that on a repeater? Do you do that simplex frequency? How do you do that? And then November 3, Whiskey Echo Romeo. Ham Radio Elmer says around here you have to be in a clique to fit in. You know, I used to feel that way when I first got started, and it was actually one of my hangups in the beginning, getting on that mic fright. Was if I didn't know you, hell, doing what I'm doing right now, talking to this little green dot in front of me here, terrified the bejesus out of me 10 years ago. I could never do what I'm doing right now, running this stream of consciousness, at least not to knowing, you know, that there's, well, we're going to use the 10x factor, 36,000 or 100x factor, 36,000 people watching me do this. You know, sometimes I'll get on a Josh's live stream or Jason is live stream and talk, and I don't want to look at the number of people that are watching, because that still kind of terrifies me today, but I've learned to do it. And so I've kind of felt like the mic fright was diminished with the local repeater, not so much because of the clicks. I just think that people are familiar with other people and they start to build a common bond, because you're dealing with people that are there, that are local. I've never, you know, I've personally felt that maybe there's that click, and I once again felt comfortable after I would sit and listen for a while. I get to understand the personalities, you know, no differently than going into a group of people at a breakfast get together or ham fest, sitting around the table, you know, drinking a coffee. The conversations will build and they'll start once people feel comfortable with everybody. And I think that sometimes that does get interpreted as being cliquish. If somebody new comes in and they're not familiar with them, you know, sometimes they pull back a little bit. They reserve themselves. But I've also seen groups that would invite people to come in. So if a new person showed up and nobody was familiar with them, you know, they would go out of their way to make sure that they would stop, pause, you know, hey Bob, did you have any thoughts on this? You know, draw them or engage them. So I think it's a communications art too, that some people may or may not know how to do that. Something else that okay, repeater with Echo Link. So that drive net that they do there in the Ocala area, repeater with Echo Link, which is kind of cool. And that's also something else that's changed the kind of the communication landscape, where you're maybe not seeing so many people on a local repeater. Things like Echo Link, things really, you know, right now the very popular one is All Star, and All Star has been phenomenal for me this year. You know, I've taken 2 longer trips, driving trips, More Expo and Hamcation, and have been able to use the Echo Link for some extended period of time. So looking at the poll results here, 67% said yes, repeaters are active in their area, and 33% said no. So yeah, I really think that technology, you know, people have found other things to do and other ways to communicate. And I think that kind of hurts the repeaters. I don't think I think it's just people's lives have changed and how they go about their daily. Um, I still instead of picking up the radio, I think the only time I really turn the radio on here in the truck, the UHF VHF, is if I'm on the road or I'm going up to Indianapolis, which I'm on the road, right? And I'm driving. So, um, and that leads into this other question. Does UHF VHF do you use it as part of your daily communications plan? Because I think that's the other side of it, right? Is if it's not there, and you're not using it on the regular, the opportunity isn't there, then it isn't there, and so it kind of just goes off to the side. My people that I regularly communicate with, I do it via the phone or text messaging or Discord. Now Discord's been another window, or not Windows, but a computer-based way of communicating. And so it's kind of interesting to see it. John's checking in late this morning. Good morning, John. And speaking of communicating, I do need to bring this up. Down in the description, and also the QR code up there in the top right-hand corner is the mailing list. I'm going to start using that a bit more exclusively now to get information out. I'll put a link here in the chat. I think maybe. It's got to cycle through all of the things, but make sure you get signed up for the email list. Most importantly, in the oddball world of social media and communications, you never know when something's going to be there or not there. You never know when the government is going to shut something down. And I'm not saying that that's the case, but there are people out there that don't necessarily believe in you being able to freely communicate. So having an email list, I think, is very important because it is an alternative way of being able to communicate with people that's a little bit more decentralized than a social media platform. And so that's the one. The other is in this day and age, it's expensive. Things out here just cost money. So I'm going to start working with companies and brands to try to get better discount codes, things like that. And so I'm going to use this mailing list as a way of disseminating that information to people. So if you don't mind, go ahead and get signed up. Rodney, Alpha Echo 5 Tango X-Ray says, I've been calling calling for weeks on 2 meters in the local repeaters here in the Panhandle area of Texas, but no one seems to be on the air at 3:30 a.m. when I'm driving to work. I besides Jimmy, I don't know of anybody else that's up at 3:30 in the morning on the radio, but maybe not. I don't know. And that could be very well be a timing issue. I mean, that is little outside of I want to say normal working hours, but people work around the clock. So, that does happen. So, sorry. One day I'm going to take a video of all this, the setup in here, and so because I run multiple screens and multiple cameras, and I still need to get a producer. I don't know if I could get my son to get up this early to come in here and do it. And I think though, if I could get a way to, since I'm an established and recognized media member of the media, and I do say recognized by national organizations of some sort, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can do something where I can do extra credit or get him some. Because if I could get extra credit for him, he would be all over that like a heart attack. So we'll see what we can do on that thing. With the poll here, let's see. So far, UHF, VHF, 50% says it is part of their communication plan. 17% says no, and 33% says sorta, kinda. And I think I'm going to fall in that sorta, kinda category myself. Like I said, it's there. I use it. When I definitely get into the Indianapolis area, the loop around the 465 loop around the city, I will throw out my call. Sometimes there's people there. Sometimes it's radio silence, and I'll go back to listening to a podcast or something like that. So, good deal. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and hide that, get that out of the way. So with all that, how's everybody else's week been? Mine has been just crazy, absolutely crazy. And not that it's been bad, just crazy. I think some of it traveling. We went over to met up with a whole group of ham radio operators. We went to the More Expo and went camping as much as you could camp on the fairgrounds parking, in the camping area of the fairgrounds. But it was fun nonetheless. We had some bad weather that came in, and I don't know if you guys heard me last night. I was on the after chat. I was jacked up on coffee, and I went to town for a little bit. But so we had some bad weather. They told us when we got there, and we got there on Wednesday. Got there on Wednesday afternoon, but they did tell us that they said, hey, we've got some potentially bad weather coming in. If you hear the tornado sirens, or there's they would have various ways of communicating, email, social media, stuff like that. Keep an eye on it, and if they need to, they go up to the main building, the main exhibition hall, and it's basically a lobby that you walk in, then in two large rooms. But they said that there's a basement in there. It's tornado shelter. That is where we will meet. So they gave us that information up front, and started with it. Friday, they came through and they're like we're supposed to be getting estimated winds up to 70 miles an hour. And I'm not going to say that it got that fast, but it did get kind of windy enough that being the good Boy Scouts that we were, we went out and shored up our tents. Now, most of us were from the ham radio group were tent camping, which is, cool. Kyle has a hiker trailer, and Jason Ham Radio 2.0 Jason has a rooftop tent. Everybody else was, like I said, in ground tents and everything like that. And then we had a couple of the Gazelle gazebos set up to stay dry. And we knowing that rain was going to come in, we positioned ourselves in a way that we would stay dry, and that was good. And then based on these, the estimated high winds and everything like that, we also accordingly and appropriately secured stuff. What was interesting was all of the overlanders, people who have spent a lot of money buying things that are supposed to survive the elements, bad weather, off grid, no power, were probably the least prepared people there. And they picked up, some left, never to come back. Some drove into a very large building, and I'm going to use that term building loosely. It's a nice structure, but it is a pole barn by all stretch of the imagination. So wooden frame, maybe this was steel beams, but it was a skeleton structure with sheet metal sides on it. And it was really just designed to be cover. It did have some garage doors, and but it was also right next to a large parking lot, paved parking lot, kind of downhill. So and I call them this now, faux landers, fake overlanders, took their rigs and parked them in the building. And now on the other hand, we, the ham radio guys, between the radar lookups on our phone, being connected to the Skywarn net, we were perfectly fine. It rained hard too. It was windy, and we were able to ride that out. We didn't have any collapses. Actually, we had one partial collapse. And if you guys are familiar with the gazebo or the Gazelle tents, they're the hub style tents that have the, basically use the flex of the poles and a centralized hub on each panel to hold it open. So really all you had to do is just tie that down. And this was before we really shored everything up and did that. Sorry, just reading the chat there. But once we did that, yeah, everything was fine. We did not have any big deals. John, my HTs are set up to scan the repeaters, local airport, SeaTac, FRS, GMRS, and the local school bus frequencies. It is wild listening to what school bus drivers deal with. It is just wild listening to school bus drivers. Not, at least around here, not necessarily the most radio professional people in what they're saying. And then that's just Joe's asking, Brandon, do you ever think about setting up a picnic table behind your car with the radios and food? And when people walk by, to talk to them about amateur radio and just making the day. We do outreach, right? We're all ambassadors of the hobby, I guess. What I've found, I like to operate off the back of the Bronco. And I do it in a way that's public. So when I'm live streaming, it's a little bit different story. But when I'm just out there, I'll have people ask. You get a variety of questions. A few years back on winter field day. It was a warmer, wasn't, it was a mild winter day here in Indiana. A lot of people were out hiking, and um, Carlos, K9OL, and myself had set up at uh, a twofer by the parking lot for uh, another lake, not much different than the one that's here, actually probably a little bit bigger. And it had a big hiking trail around it. So a lot of people were out hiking that day. And a lot of groups saw us doing the radio stuff out the back. Carlos had brought a DX commander. So we had a pretty decent sized antenna field set up. And we did that. POTA question mark. So POTA, if you're new here, and I'm not familiar with the username, so I'm going to assume that you're new here. POTA is a amateur radio program called Parks on the Air. There's also SOTA, Summits on the Air. And basically what you do is you go to entities. Today I'm in the Morgan Monroe State Forest. And I have set up radio gear, and I'm going to make contacts. I am what is called an activator. And then people throughout the country and the world, actually, if they can hear me and we can make a contact, then that gets tracked. It's kind of it's a way to get people out and moving. It's an organized kind of event in that fact, but it's also to a certain degree gamification of amateur radio, and getting people just out to activate. Portable radio has become really popular in the last 10 years as more and more stuff is miniaturizing, and you're able to get relatively easy power outputs. We're also right now at the height of the solar cycle. Actually, we're on the, I guess, the waning end of the height of the solar cycle. So it's going to start to dip off, where it does not take much power, output power, to communicate longer distances. So programs like Parks on the Air, Summits on the Air. Summits is kind of cool. People will take these portable radios and backpack them and literally hike up to a summit, a recognized summit, and do the same thing, make contacts with people. And they track it, and it's kind of a gamification of that. So that is Parks on the Air. There's a POTA.app, I think is the website. I probably should just look that up real quick. Yeah, POTA.app is the website that will give you all kinds of information. So, and if you're here in the United States, very robust program. But that is just, it's not just the United States. And actually, I should say North America, or at least Canada and the United States, very robust. But almost every country now that has a recognized license program also has access to this too. There's coordinators in just about every country, and they will designate state and federal or provincial and federal parks as entities to do this, and fun and neat stuff. So getting on the air, let's actually do that. And really quick, I probably should do this. Let's swing out. The sun is finally starting to come out through the clouds here. I was actually hoping to be on the back of the Bronco today, but with the overcast and the high humidity and everything, I wasn't sure what that was going to look like, and it was just as simpler to go here. So straight out the front today, leaves are filling in, so it's getting green out there, and not as easy to see. And then I tried to position the ATOS with something darker in there so you can see it when I adjust the antenna going up and down. So So let's get on the air here. Start bringing some things in. So where's it at? There we go. All right. So World Radio League is what I'm going to be using to log with. And we'll go find a go find a 40 meter frequency to get started. Slow moving. So today, since I'm in the truck, I will be using the Yaesu 891 and the ATOS as the antenna. So the bands have been, I don't know, I was on for a little bit yesterday. I had a little bit of a struggle getting some contacts. I don't think that the band was too bad. I think the Florida QSO party was going on. And I can't think if there was anything else. I mean, I heard a lot of Florida people doing Florida QSO. My gut feeling is that they were doing that with some power behind them. So, I got a couple bands selected here. Yeah, I don't think anybody's in here from POTA. Is the frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. Is the frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling. CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling. CQ Parks on the air and standing by. I'm sorry. Was the frequency in use? All right, nothing heard. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling. CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling. CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling. CQ Parks on the air and standing by. Kilo Quebec 4, Uniform Echo India. Jason, good morning, 5-9. Kilo Quebec 4, Uniform Echo India. Jason, good morning, 5-9.
Good morning, 5-9.
All right, thank you for South Carolina this morning, my friend. Have a great day today in 73.
Thanks for the contact, 73.
All right, thank you. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling. CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
Uniform South India, Park.
November 3, Uniform Delta India, good morning. You are 5555 into my park, US 4215.
Roger. I have you 57 into US 1435. QSL.
I copied 57 into Uncle Sam 1435. Thank you for the contact this morning. Have a great activation in 73.
You have a great activation as well, 73.
All right, 73, my friend. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ.
Kilo, Quebec 4, Oscar, Quebec uniform.
Kilo Quebec 4, Oscar Quebec uniform. Good morning, 5-9.
I've got you about a 5-3, 5x3, November Charlie, back to you.
I copied the 5-3 from North Carolina, my friend. Thank you for the contact today in 73.
Have a great weekend, 7-3.
All right, thank you. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ. The Golf Papa Tango station? Kilo Quebec 4, Golf Papa Tango. Good morning. You are 5555 into my park, US 4215.
You're 55 into US 2740.
All right, I copied the 55 into Uncle Sam 2740. Standing by for a second operator. All right, Kilo Quebec 4, Mike Yankee uniform. Copy the 55 in the park. You're also 55 into my park, US 4215. Thank you for the contact. You guys have a great activation this morning in 73. All right, thank you. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. All right, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot going QSY to 20 meters. We've got to run and gun it here. The antenna's moving it at the speed of molasses.
USN, ahí hay otra persona.
Is the frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. Is the frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Oscar November Tango.
Kilo Fox 5, Oscar November Tango. Jeffrey, good morning, 59 plus.
You're 5'9", just north of Houston.
All right, thank you for Houston this morning. Have a great day today in 73. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
November 3, Charlie Juliet, November.
November 3, Charlie Juliet, November. James, good morning, 59.
QSL, you're 5757 here in New Mexico.
All right, thank you for New Mexico this morning. Have a great day today in 73, my friend.
73, good luck.
All right, thank you. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. Thank you, Brian.
November 5, Uniform Quebec.
November 5, Uniform Quebec. Rusty, good morning, 59.
Roger, I got you about a 5'3", 5'5" when you're by yourself.
All right, thank you for the 5'5", my friend. Appreciate it. Have a great day today in 73.
73.
All right, thank you. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
Kilo India 5, November, November.
The station ending in Uniform Tango.
Kilo India 5, Zulu Uniform Tango.
Kilo India 5, Zulu Uniform Tango. Joseph, good morning, 59 plus.
Looks like I lost you there. Somebody covered you up. Try one more time. Kilo India 5, Zulu Uniform Tango. Stand by.
Kilo India 5, Zulu Uniform Tango. Joseph, good morning, 59 plus.
QSL, I got you 5757 down here in Texas. Hey, thanks for activating at 73.
All right, thank you, my friend. Have a great day today in 73. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
Park to Park, W5, Sylvie.
The Whiskey 5 station.
Whiskey 5, Charlie, Lima, Victor, Texas, Park 3030.
Whiskey 5, Charlie, Lima, Victor. Randall, good morning. I copied 5, I think you said 59 from Park 3030. You're 59 into my Park, US 4215.
All right, thanks so much. 73, W5, Sylvie.
All right, thank you, my friend. Have a great activation today in 73. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. All right, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot going QRT. Well, not great, not bad. Got the 10 in the log, so we should be good there. I'll probably swing back by here a little bit later today and do some more contacts. I actually have some testing of antennas. I've got a couple different antennas that have been sent to me that I want to get up and get on the air and get tested. So I will probably be over here later today doing that. So let's see what we got here real quick. So you guys don't get the blow it up window. Okay. Can I? Sorry, trying to bring the big map up here. So this is the layout for today in the reach. So guys, far west is Santa Fe. 3-4 contacts down into the Texas area. All that on 20 meters, 40 meters. Got as far south as Mobile, Alabama. At least this is what the postal addresses or mailing addresses that are on file with the FCC. So that's where it's showing up. And then some here in the North Carolina area, and then one up in the Pennsylvania area. So 10 contacts, and for those who stumbled across and wondering what the heck we were doing, in order for me to quote activate the park, that gamification again, I need to have at least 10 contacts to do that. EU is having a 10-meter opening to Asia and Japan, nothing in the US. Yeah, I do want to get out and do some more with 10 meters. I do like it. I don't think enough people populate. There's a lot of Europeans. They'll use it a lot, but it's kind of different times of the day. But I think we need to do more 10-meter. Get some activity on there, so people who have technician licenses can do some HF work other than FTA, and hopefully give them a reason to upgrade their license. So, but the reality is, and I'm going to say this, and I'll throw it out. We need to do a better job of not harassing people about getting their license upgraded. They need to want to do it. We can show them, hey, here's all the cool things you can do. But I think sometimes we get so hyper fixated on people getting that next license that we shy them or scare them away from it, because in some cases it can be daunting. It could be a hard task. I mean, I grew up in radio, and I grew up in electronics and went to school for it. And so a lot of this stuff is just second nature for me. But for somebody who doesn't have a background in electronics or a background in radio and things like that, it could be overwhelming. And so I think we get too hyper fixated on getting people into the hobby instead of just showing them how fun the hobby can be. So, guys, it looks like Ham Church is up. Get on over there. Tell them the fat guy with the beard sent you from the park. And everybody have a great Sunday. Enjoy the rest of the day, and spend some time with your family. Get outdoors, and we will see you guys Wednesday evening for the Ham Radio Kids Table. So Until then, until we get an opportunity to catch each other on the air, have a great day. 73, everybody, and we will talk to you later.